Hello everyone, I'm Lisa Workman, the president of the Fergus Falls Area Chamber of Commerce. And this year, the Fergus Falls Chamber is celebrating 135 years in Fergus Falls. So let's roll back the calendar a few decades and to talk about what was going on back in 1886. Grover Cleveland was president of the United States. The first train of oranges leaves Los Angeles via the first transcontinental railroad. There was a workers' strike in Chicago, which became known as the Haymarket Affair, and this resulted in the 8-hour workday. And Dr. John Stith Pemberton created a carbonated beverage to be named Coca-Cola. This was 1886. The city of Fergus Falls has existed for just 14 years and has been claimed the coming city of the Northwest. And around that same time, in 1886, actually it was August of 1886, 16 businessmen, including notables such as Wright, Barrows, Brown, Compton, Burnham, and others, gather in Fergus Falls to incorporate the Fergus Falls Chamber of Commerce. And they declare in the original Articles of Incorporation, the general objects and purposes of this incorporation are to facilitate the buying and selling of all products, to inculcate principles of justice and equity in trade, to facilitate speedy adjustments of business disputes, to acquire and disseminate usable commercial information in the furtherance of their legitimate business pursuits, and to advance the general prosperity and business interests in the city of Fergus Falls. Now, it was initially formed as the Fergus Falls Chamber of Commerce, but has also been known as the Civic and Commerce Club, the Civic and Commerce Association, and now today the Fergus Falls Area Chamber of Commerce. And the role of the Fergus Falls Chamber of Commerce over the past 135 years, while continuing to focus on the main purpose, has continued to focus on the main purpose of serving and promoting local businesses through commerce. And along the way, our desire to help businesses has grown. The Fergus Falls Chamber has grown too and has worked diligently to grow the community as a whole. Now let's roll back. Our records that we have at the Chamber office now went back to about the 1930s, where we found some original annual reports where we learned that back in the 30s, as the Civic and Commerce Association, they worked on projects and initiatives and programs such as Queen of the May Day and Pancake Day. They hosted a rural school singing, carol singing contest. They worked on road signs, such as those that were important to direct people to Otter Tail Lake, and worked with the downtown businesses and the roads downtown on parallel parking. They were very active promoting sports in the region as well as conventions. And even back in the 1930s, they had 346 members along with 15 committees. And in 1936, in the Chamber's annual report, the president of the Fergus Falls Chamber, V.H. Sprague, writes a summary of the association, which back in 1936 still rings true today. The chief value of the association is an organization representing every phase of business in the city, ready to act on any problem affecting the business or general welfare of the city. And of course, that was back in the 30s. And in the 1940s, we all know what was happening then. It was World War II. And the association, which was the Civic and Commerce Association in the 40s, sold war bonds under the campaign Retailers for Victory. They also shared positive messages of recovery. And the Chamber president in 1942 wrote a letter in the annual report. The president was O.U. Haberstad, and he writes, "No doubt hard years are ahead, but I am not discouraged because we are living in a fine agricultural community, and I am sure when the war is over, our citizens will return, our buildings will be occupied again, and business will be better than ever." Sounds like a message we could use today. Well, in the 1950s, the organization became known as the Chamber of Commerce. And one of the biggest projects that they worked on was to build what is today's headquarters located at 202 South Court Street, downtown Fergus Falls, right along the Otter Tail River. In the mid-1950s, they built the building that is now the Chamber headquarters and office. Great location downtown, and it only cost $12,000 to build that building. Very generous businesses donated the funds to build the building. And while the building was going on, the Chamber still worked on initiatives such as putting streetlights downtown. These were called the White Way streetlights. They had lots of discussions about store hours and mandating what those store hours should be, and should it be on Monday night or should they have to be open late on Friday night? The Chamber also led the United Fund Drive, which is similar to the United Way today. They worked on issues such as bringing the Interstate 94 to Fergus Falls and worked on the Fergus Falls Industrial Corporation. They worked on tourism, and they even hosted many fishing contests in the 1950s. As we move forward to the 70s and 80s, the Chamber became known as the Fergus Falls Area Chamber of Commerce. And they were very busy working on economic development, working on issues such as bringing a college to Fergus Falls, which is now known as M-State, or Minnesota State Community and Technical College. Some of the other issues that they worked on were working on parking and railroad routes. And of course, as promoters of local commerce, they had the old-fashioned bargain days and 5 for Fergus. Can you imagine what old-fashioned was in the 1970s? Kind of feels like today would be old-fashioned, or the 70s would be old-fashioned today. The Chamber was also very active with tourism and working with the local resorts. They hosted the JC's Sportstacular Parade. Of course, one of the most popular was the Scandinavian Days festivals. And back in the 70s and 80s, the Fergus Falls Chamber of Commerce was a student employment service hub where there were hundreds of high school students who were looking for jobs, and they were paired with businesses that the Chamber made the match for. That would be amazing if we had hundreds of high school students looking for jobs today. It seems like in 2021, the reverse is true, where we have hundreds of employers looking for high school students to come to work. And of course, we continue to make the connections in that direction as well. Now, as we come a little bit more current in the 1990s and up to the early 2000s, the Chamber was host of the Scandinavian Days Festival, Frostbite Festival, and Crazy Days. The Chamber also offered Fergus Bucks as housing incentives for people to build new homes in Fergus Falls. They hosted the Leadership Fergus Falls program and a number of appreciation breakfasts. And common activities were the Battle of the Businesses bowling tournament, which still goes on today, as well as the Champion Citizens Luncheon. They hosted the Governor's Fishing Opener and also led the campaign and the fundraising for the Central Lakes Trail. How many of you have used that Central Lakes Trail? You can thank the Chamber for driving the fundraising efforts for that. And as we come to more current, into the 2000s and early 2000s, one of the biggest things that happened was the internet. And the Chamber launched their website at fergusfalls.com. Of course, back then they thought it was kind of a passing fancy and something that you just had to do, but now it's one of the most searchable spots in Fergus Falls, with more than 375 businesses listed, events listing. The information that's at fergusfalls.com continues to grow. And in the 2000s, there were many Fergus Bucks promotions. The Chamber hosted fun events like a Friday Night Live and a casino event. Connecting with education, they hosted a Cheers banquet, delivered apples to teachers, and the Champion Citizens Luncheon, as well as the Battle of the Businesses Bowling Trail and the Central Lakes Trail fundraising continued on into the early 2000s. And if we look back a little bit closer, what's changed in the more the last 15 years? We've expanded our member benefits. We've increased our legislative advocacy and our voice of the local business community. We've had fun retail promotions, kind of give it a new spin with things like Shop, Move, and Groove. Of course, the Battle of the Businesses bowling tournament continues, and we're shooting for the Saturday before the Super Bowl in 2022. The Chamber also became very well known for fun events like the Taste of Fergus Falls, a golf scramble, and more recently we have been working on things like COVID recovery and workforce initiatives. Now, if we think back to what the original Articles of Incorporation said then, and we look at what our mission is today, our mission today is we serve as the lead advocate and resource for our members. We create partnerships that foster a healthy business community. Much of the things that the Chamber is known for these days, I'm sure, were activities that have been carried on for probably the last 135 years. We have Chamber ambassadors that celebrate and promote business growth, including celebrating new businesses, which we've had so many of in our community over the last decade or two. In fact, even during the recovery period of COVID, during 2021, we've had 34 new members join the Chamber. We're happy to celebrate those fun anniversaries, groundbreakings, ribbon cuttings, and even renovations and expansions, because that has been very busy these past few years. In fact, we got to celebrate our own expansion. Actually, it wasn't really expansion. It was more of a renovation or a renewal back in 2018. As you remember, the chamber office was built in 1955 and not much had been done to it over the course of that time. You know, a couple coats of paint and that type of thing. But a lot had changed in our community, and technology brought in some much needed changes too. So in 2018, the chamber, through the generous donations of the business community and our members, went through a full renovation process and now has a bright new headquarters for the chamber, still located at 202 South Court Street, but the image now projects a very professional, polished, and positive image of our business community, thus attracting additional businesses to Fergus Falls. You might know the chamber for the building, the people that work in there, but a lot of times, a lot of the work we do is done behind the scenes, and a lot of people aren't even aware of some of these things that are going on. Behind the scenes, we host events like a Meet the Candidates, giving folks a chance to learn about the issues and how candidates stand on those issues, especially when they're affecting the business community. We also advocate for our members at both the local, state, and federal level. We've got a statewide policy situation that we work on with the Minnesota Chamber. One of the other things that we do is we offer relocation services. So we mail out a lot of relocation packets, plus we give community tours for businesses who are looking to relocate people or recruit them into Fergus Falls. We work with the high school on career exploration, and again, working to solve some of those challenging issues such as workforce development. And speaking of challenging issues, boy, the last 18 months, our businesses have been faced with so many challenges, from shutdowns to mandates to loss of customers, loss of employees, all kinds of different challenges. And we stood with them side by side to help them through those challenges. Instead of planning fun events, we were helping members fill out grant applications and determine signage and help them navigate all the changes that COVID-19 brought to the business community. In fact, we worked with local businesses and they have received more than $1.7 million in grants. We help them fill out those applications, we help them get the right information in, and we'll continue to do that until we get to the other side of what is known as this COVID-19 pandemic. In fact, we were able to provide scholarships for many of our chamber members who had been struggling financially because of the COVID-19 pandemic. We had 25 businesses and chamber members donate to a local business resiliency fund, which allowed us to give more than 30 scholarships to chamber members so that they could maintain their benefits of membership and continue to promote their business and hopefully survive through the pandemic. And that just proves the generosity of our community. We sent out cards to them saying, "Don't stop believing," and the community came through and made generous donations to the Chamber's local business resiliency fund. Of course, when we think about money coming into our community, I hope you've all had a chance to spend some Fergus bucks from time to time. They are one way that the Chamber reinforces that shop local message. They're available at the Chamber office in $5 and $20 increments. You can pay with cash, check, or even a debit card. And in 2020, we sold a record-breaking $140,000 in Fergus bucks. And that was the community's way of supporting our local businesses, and we were thrilled to be able to do that and keep $140,000 in Fergus Falls because of the Chamber's Fergus bucks. Well, again, now that things are shifting and changing a little bit, we've started to host some more in-person events such as our Connect for Lunch, lunchtime networking event. That'll happen starting again in the fall. Chamber Cafe has both been in virtual and in person, and that is a morning networking event that happens 6 times a year, which is a great way for you to get connected in the community. And we just wrapped up our golf tournament at Pebble Lake Golf Club, which is a fun way for folks to make some business connections in the community, as well as having some fun out on the golf course. And coming up next year, we plan to be hosting our Battle of the Businesses bowling tournament. That's been going on for nearly 30 years at Northern Air Lanes. Fun way for businesses to do some team building and get together and have some fun. And speaking of fun, we've got a fun professional staff at the Chamber of Commerce. As I mentioned, I've been the president of the Chamber since 2007, so for about 15 years. Jennifer Frowning is our operations coordinator. She's that smiling face that you'll see right when you come in the front door or when you call the Chamber. She's been with the Chamber for 5 years. Leon Barnett has been our events and membership assistant for 12 years now, and she does a great job connecting with our members as well as assisting with our events. And our newest member of the team is Emily Frustel. She is our communications coordinator. We recruited her all the way from North Carolina. So anyhow, I hope you get a chance to meet some of the great faces that work at the Chamber. But a lot of the decisions that are made for the Fergus Falls Chamber of Commerce are through our board of directors. We have a very active board of directors. They're volunteers who really understand what the Chamber and the business community means to the growth of Fergus Falls. And they are making decisions on a very regular basis and setting the game plan for what's ahead for the future. And of course, this program has shared a lot of information about the history of Fergus Falls, but a lot of times people are saying, what's next? And we're happy to share what's next with you too. So we went through a vision planning process starting in the spring of 2021. We're wrapping that up, and those things created out of the vision planning process, we created our strategic initiatives. And those include things like improving the return on investment for our members. So we've developed new membership levels where people can choose what benefits are important to them, what programs are the most important to them, where they can choose their level of investment. We also have selected as a strategic initiative is to really leverage the government liaisons, the partnerships and the work that we do as advocates for our members when it comes to the city council, county commissioners, state legislators, even federal legislators. We can call those folks, whether it's Congresswoman Fishbach's office, we call their staff and they take the call, especially when our members have an issue that needs to be taken care of. And we are happy to be that advocate for our businesses to help them be successful and remove barriers that are hindering them from their success. Of course, the Chamber continues to promote local commerce. We are the Chamber of Commerce, and promoting local commerce remains one of our strongest initiatives. And we'll continue to do that by promoting our members both at a local and a regional level. We want people to do business in Fergus Falls and our Fergus Falls businesses to do business with each other. It's very important. One of the other strategic initiatives is to facilitate community vitality. We want to continue to encourage positivity and a spirit of collaboration and partnerships throughout our community through organizations, including the Chamber, but from business to business and other nonprofit organizations. We know that when we work together, we can get a lot more accomplished. And so we want to continue to be kind of that community cheerleader. Additionally, we want to grow those relationships between businesses, and we will achieve that through some of our networking events, as well as direct contacts, referrals, and just making those connections that as the Chamber, we represent 375 members, we can help those businesses get connected with other organizations that will help them be successful as well. And one of the biggest challenges that we're working on is to enhance our workforce strategies. Working with the Fergus Falls School District and meeting with students to help them understand which careers are available in our community and what education is available. Working with M-State to help connect those students to career opportunities, as well as many other things that will be coming soon. And you are going to want to pay attention to these things and be connected with some of the workforce strategies that we have. We want our businesses to be the best places to work in the region, and their employees will benefit because of that. And finally, one of our goals is to pursue clarity and distinction among the many organizations that are all working together for the betterment of Fergus Falls. We are working with each of these organizations to clarify our missions and to make sure that we're not duplicating efforts, but we know collaboration is key, and we'll continue to build and strengthen those partnerships with organizations that also want to see Fergus Falls grow. So as we wrap things up, the Fergus Falls Area Chamber of Commerce, the Civic and Commerce Association, the Fergus Falls Chamber, whatever the name has been over the past 135 years, we've been serving the business community, and we will continue to serve the business community into the future. I invite you to stop by the Chamber office at 202 South Court Street, visit our office, take a walk along the River Walk, give us a call, 736-6951. Of course, that's area code 218. Give us a call. We'd be happy to answer any questions you have about businesses in Fergus Falls, things that are happening. And of course, 24/7, you can check out our website at fergusfalls.com and get a complete listing of the businesses who are members of the chamber, as well as a great calendar of events. We've got hot deals as well as many, many job postings on there. So again, check out our website at fergusfalls.com. I'm Lisa Workman, president of the Fergus Falls Area Chamber of Commerce, and I'm thrilled that you've been a part of our past 135 years of serving the business community.